Hi there. This is Lisa. It's good to see you. I am going to do this class by a recording that I'm doing on a Zoom meeting right now with myself. And we're going to talk about your next project. But first, I wanted to share about two artists by the name of Bonnard and Vuillard. Those are fun names to say, but I'm going to put them up on the screen so that you can see them. Okay, let me make this bigger. Pierre Bonnard and Eduoard Vuillard were friends, and they met at an atelier school in Paris. And we're going to talk about, our project is interiors, but we're going to also talk about a little bit of symbolism as well. This is a painting that Vuillard painted of Bonnard. They were part of a group called the Nabis, which is supposed to mean prophets or seers, but they were into symbolism. Neither of them were into any sort of mystical side of that. It wasn't that, it was the symbolism in their painting. This is a painting by Bonnard, and he is very into the colors. He said, "Art is not nature. There was a lot more to be got out of color." That is a quote that I saw for him. But his emphasis was on colors, and I think that his, sorry, just a moment. I'm changing something. Hi, there we go. There was something on the screen I was trying to not have on the screen. His work looks to me a lot like Matisse. So one thing they had in common is that they both went to law school to become lawyers. At one point, Matisse became very sick for one point in his life, and somebody gave him an art box. Later in his life, he was sick again, and that's when he did the cutouts, and he had people help him with the cutout collages that we know him for. But his earlier work resembled the Bonnard picture. There's always a landscape outside. I'll just go back again. This was Bonnard. It's an interior, but it's an interior with a still life and an exterior with a landscape. And so that is something that Matisse always did. And they were both also very colorful in their work. And this is Vuillard, and he also did the same thing at times, the colorfulness, the interior and the exterior. But Bonnard was very colorful. If you see this bright orange here, and very similar to Matisse in that colorfulness. Here's a Matisse. After a while, you're going to be able to guess. This is a Bonnard. These pictures were very small, so if you feel like the people aren't very detailed or something is very not detailed, they're small pieces. They also dealt with their work on a flat plane, so you don't sometimes feel like it's very two-dimensional except for what's outside, because of the they're dealing with it very graphically in a two-dimensional sense. So, yes, I'm reading this because there was their sort of doctrine among their group of abandoning the three-dimensional modeling in favor of flat color areas. He was delighted, this is Bonnard, even fascinated and delighted by scenes of simple daily life around him. Because of this, he has been called an intimist, and so was Vuillard. They were very similar in that. This is the last Matisse I'll show you. It's just so similar to the one before in the sense of the coloring and the landscape outside and the interior inside. And then as you get to know them a little better, this is Vuillard. It's very textural, almost like textile printing. he felt that color and shape could represent experiences that are difficult to express in words. So even though it's sort of a flatness, you feel like there are these figures moving against a flat back wall, there's definitely a mood here. It seems like they're doing dressmaking or laundry or something involving fabric, and there's an industrious mood to it, and then all the wonderful textile textures. This is a very modernist idea, the notion that one's personal viewpoint, a subjective view of reality, can gain insight into truth. Art in the past was at times just art, but as it moves forward into more modern art, and these were post-impressionists, there's more of a personal viewpoint or a trying to express oneself or a point of view. This is Vuillard again. You see the textiles, the very two-dimensional layout and the textures and the mood and the lighting. You can pick his work out for that. Here's another one. Now here's one that seems similar, but it's almost like the view out the window, because this is Bonnard. It is the view out the window, and the reason I say that, even though it's a landscape, is because it sort of has this aerial view, like I'm on the second floor balcony looking down at this work. So that's the feeling I get looking at it. And another one of his where you're looking out and maybe looking up a little bit because you're lower in the room and you only see the treetops. Then you can guess who this is. I put a B or a V down below, but yes, it's Vuillard. And it's very mood induced. And then this is Vuillard again. The lighting, the repetition of these teal blues and the angles of the pictures, the shadow under her hat or the veil, whatever's darkening her face, and then it sort of glows with the teal that's coming in from behind her. That's very two-dimensional to fill in that negative space around her with the color from the painting behind. And repeating it over and over makes these to be very flat shapes. I know in my first college painting class, I really liked these two. And I tried to paint like them. And then I got a very bad grade for making an interior look entirely flat. But that is really what they were doing, and in a sense, what they were trying to do. And then here's Bonnard. And again, it's so flat with the tree and the table and the woman. And then things sort of appear out, like this woman for a second over here on the right. You almost don't see her at first. She seems like a cutout that's sort of set in, almost the same as the oval of the tree or the circle of this bush over here. And then you start to see this woman who blends into the tree behind. Now, Vuillard does a similar thing where you feel like it's almost just a tapestry sewn there, but you discover things again as you go, like you discover the woman on the right and the spots of the beautiful light showing through the tree. The light showing through the trees of the sky, but then the light falling on the house in a spotty way, almost the way these flowers are spots. So it's almost an even tapestry all the way through of little bits and pieces. So now for our project today, what I would like you to do, and just do a drawing. I mean, if you want to do a painting, you can always take things as far as you would like to go. Before I finish that, I'm just going to read off a couple other things I have. I have Vuillard up in front of us, but Bonnard said, for Bonnard, color was an end in itself, a way of experiencing the world. Color was so important to Bonnard. When he had mixed a color that was particularly to his liking, he would even go back and touch up other paintings with that color. Bonnard painted many of his scenes from memory, capturing the spirit of the moment rather than the exact place. He took it back to his studio for the notes. Some people paint in plein air, and I believe Vuillard might have, because that's the sense I get from this tapestry painting. Bonnard also designed furniture, developed textile patterns, painted screens, created stage sets, puppets for puppet shows, and illustrated books. I want his job. And his practice of this reflects both that period's interest in the decorative as a way to unify the environment through largely abstract means, and an artist's interest in serving the needs of public spaces, including the burgeoning field of advertising. I'm reading that off of something that I'm going to send you. But if you think of Toulouse-Lautrec, advertising the Moulin Rouge and whatever, you know, artists were beginning to be a part of the business world of advertising as well. So that may come through in some of the two-dimensional sort of graphic nature of things. So what I would like you to do is draw, paint if you like, but draw an interior or even a still life. And if you notice, this still life is taken from the low perspective. Or it can be a combination, like the still life with the window and the landscape beyond, or, you know, something on a table and then the room around. You can have people or not, that's up to you. I would like you to be expressive in your drawings. And as an example of that, here's a Picasso you would be proud to own and probably be worth a lot of money, but there's a certain mood of this chicken. Because of the use of the line, is very playful and very clean. That is very different from this chicken or rooster screaming its head off, and you can almost hear it. Or even this rooster, same type of thing, but painted, and then with his eyes in weird places on the side of the head to make sure that it's a Picasso. So I want you to consider the expressiveness of your line, because we do express ourselves in art. If we're not expressing ourselves, we're expressing the mood of the room. It would be one thing to draw the room with the simple line, and it'd be another thing to draw the room with the dark screaming line. And another thing I wanted to bring up was symbolism. And I just will touch on it a little bit. You can look into it as far as you would like, but colors have symbolism. Red symbolizes passion or anger. Gold is success or wealth. I mean, some are obvious. And I'll give you a more detailed one of those. Flowers or other items that you put in your picture are symbolic. And for instance, here I see some yellow flowers that are devoted affection, coming back soon, thinking of you. And then in this painting from an artist who does floral language as well as symbolism in his paintings, there are the yellow paintings, thinking of you, with a wide open window and a ship. And this book that I'm not sure, but I could probably come up with what this, the meaning of it is. And here is a painting he did live. And he was talking about symbolism. The daffodils symbolize a new beginning because they're the first spring flowers to bloom right after the winter frost. The Latin name for daffodil is Narcissus, and the Greek mythology character who loved himself too much. So you put that together with the blue, forgot what the blue was symbolizing. The musical instrument back here, the violin, often symbolizes a female, and a book is often wisdom, and this is particularly an art book. So these things were set here on purpose, and I'm not going to expound on what they meant because that is in a video that I'm sending you, where this artist, his name is Walt Bartman, and he is a former art school teacher from Walt Whitman High School, as well as the director of the Yellow Barn Studios. And he's talking about how he sets up the still life, not only for the two-dimensional form that you see here on the right, but also for the symbolism of the things inside it. And he goes on to paint it. So this is the beginning of the painting. You don't have to watch the whole 2-hour video of him painting it, but the beginning talking about symbolism and maybe the setting up of how the items relate to each other might help you decide on what it is you want to draw. So your project is to draw an interior that can include an outside landscape or an inside still life. But it would be nice to use expressive strokes and symbolism in some form or another, or mood in one way or another in your piece. So that is your assignment for the week, and I will send you the links to a symbols of color and symbols of objects website, as well as the video of this guy setting up this still life and discussing symbolism in art. So that's what we have today. Have a good time drawing, and I will talk to you next week.